Hey guys, B Grim here. So, last week was my birthday, and I didn't post. This week has been my first week of cosmetology school, and it's been a bit of a learning curve. Hopefully, I will be able to resume my regularly scheduled broadcasts next Wednesday, but I can't promise. I have plans to, but. On top of that, my video editing software has been kind of acting weird. Hopefully I can get that all straightened out, and yeah, we'll be back to normal next week, hopefully. But I wanted to post this, just because. So last night, Comedy Central did a rerun of their celebrity roast. It was Rob Lowe. And if you haven't seen this, you've probably still heard about it because everyone's talking about how Ann Coulter got burned. They kind of frame it almost like it was more the roast of Ann Coulter than the roast of Rob Lowe. I kind of feel like this descriptor is shit, truthfully, because Ann Coulter didn't get it any worse than anybody else on the show. The only thing she did worse, that she got that was worse, was audience reaction, and that's because her jokes were shit. In fact, the worst part about watching Ann Coulter get up there to do the celebrity roast was realizing that she genuinely thinks that her jokes are funny. And they're not. Like, it was one of those realizations that is so horrible, it's actually kind of funny. So that was the best joke of her run, was realizing that she actually thinks she's funny, or at least clever, neither of which I would particularly apply in this case. But it was really interesting because you could definitely see that she was she was confused, she was uncomfortable, she was angry. There was a couple of times in which she looked like she was about ready to leap up out of her chair and try to rip someone's head off. Because that was just the expression that she had. I mean, like, it's not even like resting bitch face. It's that, oh my god, I want to kill you fake smile that I see a lot in retail. I've even used it a few times. Because you have to be polite to the customers, even when the customers are being impolite to you. If you're one of those people, yes, we do talk about you. But it was sort of crazy to me because, you've got all these great people there, all these great comedians. You've got Jimmy Carr, you've got Nikki Glazer, you've got Jewel. Jewel was amazing. You've got Ralph Macchio there. He was great. I loved how most of his jokes were roasts of both himself and Rob Lowe. He did a lot of very cool self-deprecating jokes, which I loved. But you realize really quick watching this that everybody is gonna get toasted, and it's all gonna be below the belt. There is not a single joke that is not painful. Funny, but painful. And in a few cases, sort of one of those things where you're sitting there going, oh my god, that's awful. But you're still laughing because it is delivered in a really funny and clever way. Which I think is kind of a lost art form in comedy. Comedy, we always talk about how comedy is... about how it's not edgy to be politically incorrect in comedy. But at the same time, I feel like I have to point this out. Being, like, catering to the social justice warriors online in comedy is kind of like doing it in horror. You really can't, because the entire purpose of these two mediums is to make people uncomfortable. A good comedian is going to make you laugh your ass off and also make you think. If he can't do both, he fails. And a lot of times the best way to make people think is to show them the casual racism in their own lives. by blowing it out of proportion. So, I'm not going to say that that's true of everything. Certainly not. There's a lot of comedians who definitely take comedy as kind of a carte blanche to say whatever they want, and they're not very good. But a good comedian should be able to say hugely offensive things and it be funny because it's meant to make you uncomfortable on the backside. Does that make any sense? I think it does. I understand it, but that's me. So, horror's the same way. You cannot sugarcoat horror movies. The entire value in horror movies is that it shows the darker side of society in a way that scares the crap out of you and leaves a huge impression. So, if you sugarcoat that, you get nothing. It's like when people talk about, pretty much any horror movie that has rape involved. It's like, yeah, they show it, and it's horrible. Horror movies generally do not shy away from showing this as being the horrible, violent, and invasive crime that it is. Meanwhile, there's 50 million Lifetime movies about the same subject, and I bet you can't name one. I wonder why. Probably because they don't treat it like it's as serious as it is. Just a thought. But anyway, talking about the Roast of Rob Lowe, it was really great, A lot of the jokes were funny. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of taking notes in an abstract kind of way, like, ooh. But I did think it was kind of strange that so many people have framed this as being more like the roast of Ann Coulter than the roast of Rob Lowe, and it's like, no, really it's not. Ann Coulter got burned just as much as everybody else, to just the same degree. The reason that it seems so much like Ann got roasted worse is because Ann couldn't roast for shit. She couldn't she couldn't do it. None of her jokes were funny. And she plugged her goddamn book. Look, I get it, you're a writer, you're trying to get publicity for your book. You don't actually need to pull the damn thing out on stage and sit it on your podium. You really... I'm surprised you didn't get booed off the stage the minute you did. Your jokes were shit, your delivery was shit, and your book is probably shit too. Because, I'm sorry, none of that was funny. She had one that came and it was the only one I actually caught, because I kind of ended up muting her after she pulled out the book. It was that bad. There was only one that I caught that had any potential to be funny. It's when she's trying to joke about wanting David Spade to vote for Donald Trump, because they said that he wouldn't get the vote of a single Spade. It had some potential, it did. But it was a shit joke, delivered poorly, and not really in keeping with the roast. If she was just talking to an audience as a comedian, she probably could have gotten away with that. But she's trying to roast him. So saying, I want you to vote for Trump because they said he wouldn't get the vote of a single Spade, that's not going to work. Now, if she was trying to roast Trump, again, that might could work. But it all depends on delivery and how it's written, and I don't know. The worst part is finding out that there were actually joke writers who wrote jokes for her and intended for her to kind of steal the show in a surprise. And from what I understand, from what I have heard, they say that she chopped it all up, basically tossed out half of what they wrote and said, no, I'm going to do it my way. Your way sucks, Ann. You can't make a joke. Of course, Ann Coulter is saying that it was bad editing, that she got the laughs. I don't believe it for a second. Because they really did try to make her look good in this. But the problem is that aside from a few instances in which the roast master actually turns around and talks to her, and one or two laughs. She spends the entire time when she's not up there at the podium like this. Like, no. She doesn't interact with the other roasters. She doesn't have any good jokes. She seems awkward, uncomfortable, and completely out of her element. And you know what? I think that's a great descriptor for Ann Coulter at the Roast of Rob Lowe. The show was great. The insults were funny as hell. Ann Coulter could not tell a joke to save her life. And, I mean, that's just it. That's all I have to say. So, you know, like and subscribe. I am going to work on putting more videos out. Can't make any promises. I keep saying, you know, I'm going to do it, and then I don't. I do have a video that I'm planning on putting up soon. It was supposed to be up before Labor Day, but again, my video software has been completely screwy lately. It's a tour of my local Spirit Halloween store. I walk through, I talk about everything I'm seeing. I'm sure you all know what's in Spirit Halloween because they are everywhere this season, but I thought it might be fun. So, catch you later, Gremlings. Creep it real, and I will talk to you later.